Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch One. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300 meter, 41.5 millimeters, in alternately brushed and polished stainless steel. I am really thrilled to bring this watch to you because it has a sentimental place in my heart, my personal history as a collector. For me, it's kind of a best of the both worlds type of situation where you get the outstanding aesthetic of the rarely seen iridescent blue dial Omega Seamaster, but you also get the ETA 2892A2 chronometer caliber Omega 1120 with the package. Now, previously I've reviewed this watch with the same bracelet, the same bezel, the same dial, hand, and index combination, but with the quartz movement that originally debuted in the Seamaster Professional line in the early 90s. This example features all of those classic elements of the mid to late 1990s Bond Seamaster, but it adds the chronometer caliber, the mechanical movement, the beating heart that adds that last element of essential charm for hardcore watch enthusiasts. So you get the look, but you also get the substance inside. And on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters, it's an absolute blast. The one key divergence between this one and the classical Bond Seamaster is the bezel and dial combination. In short, this one's just more spectacular. The combination of the fully polished steel bezel with inset engraved numerals, indices, and hash marks, beautiful broadsword hands, the abundantly loomed trapezoid indices, and the lacquered blue wave dial is explosive. This watch, if I had to pick one word to describe it, it would be radiant. This watch is explosive in the sun, even in low light. You really can't keep this watch down visibly. There are some watches, like the Omega Speedmaster Gray Side of the Moon, that come alive in harsh light. This one doesn't even need that. It almost produces its own aura, its own glow. And on my wrist, you can see 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters. The watch is beautifully compact, and it's got a wonderfully sloped bezel and low case flanks that makes it uniquely more compatible with dress cuffs than almost all of the Rolex Oyster Case professional watches with rotating ridged bezels. This one works well with formal attire. Now, granted, this is a watch to be worn with panache and confidence because unlike the standard matte dial skeleton hand Bond Seamaster, this one has that radiant energy to it. Now, I will call out the bracelet. One of the best during the 90s, still one of the best today. And we've seen from over, quite honestly, 20 years of subsequent experience that these wear well. They don't develop play, they don't weaken, they don't break. They look as good and they feel as good today as when they first debuted in the early 1990s. And they look as good as they looked on screen with Pierce Brosnan in GoldenEye in 1995. Still comfortable, still rugged, and still beautifully finished. With a 5-link pattern alternately brushed and polished, it's still a perfect match that easily keeps up with the radiance of this bezel and dial combination. And now as then, the bracelet remains a superb piece. Engraved with a brushed finish on the exterior, it features a solid single deployant as well as a secure twin trigger release, the twin trigger keeping it closed. And believe me, I've done indecent things with my own Bond Seamaster, and I can testify as to the structural strength of this clasp and bracelet. Now, the deployant dive extension remains one of the best in the business. Milled out, very secure. It has the same sense of strength to it as the primary deployant mechanism itself. So if you do want to wear the watch over some sort of diving equipment, or if you just want to wear it over a thick winter coat or a sweater, as I did in New Hampshire during my times in college, the bottom line is it's surprisingly useful. You will deploy it, you will use it, you will be thankful you have it, whether or not you ever step into a tidal pool. The bottom line is this is a great feature to have, and it really spares you the jeweler for those times when you want to extend the bracelet. Now, I often show the case back of a solid non-display caseback watch, but in this case I really want to highlight it because the famous hippocampus, the seahorse or sea monster logo right here became something of an icon reborn during the 1990s as it was increasingly associated with the resurgence of the Seamaster line, and to me it represents one of the grail icons of my childhood before I was a collector. I idolized watches with this mark on the back because I always coveted one of those Bond Seamasters, and to be honest, seeing this watch in the mall, even more than the classic Bond, seeing this glowing in the windows at Tourneau, that iridescent dial, those key lime trapezoidal indices, the broadsword hands, this is the image that captured my imagination. While I love my watch, this is still the heartthrob in my mind, and to hold it in my hand, it just gives me chills years later. This, like the quartz reference, is a look that's completely unique in the Omega Seamaster catalog. When people talk about the electric blue, they're talking about this watch. It's almost like Cher or Madonna. It's got a shorthand name that's become iconic and instantly recognizable among those who know and those who love. And frankly, this watch is explosively attractive even to those who don't know luxury watches. It's not something that bespeaks money or status so much as just a sense of fun-loving joy, love of life. That's what this watch has in spades. What it also has is a substantial sports watch pedigree. Now, 300 meters water resistant, so essentially 1,000 feet. It's very tough. I've used this for everything from jumping off of waterfalls in the Pacific Northwest to U.S. Navy third class and second class swim qualifications. So it's tough, it's water resistant, it can play as hard as you can, but it also features some fun flourishes like the helium release valve. Not really something you'll ever need unless you're a truly hardcore professional diver descending in a bell, but while Rolex asks you to pay more to get this on the Sea Dweller as opposed to the standard Submariner, Omega includes it as part of the bargain, and good for them. Now the bezel, still loomed at its index at 60, remains useful with a positive detent all these years later. It's still a wonderfully satisfying piece to rotate, and because on the polished example you actually have those inset hash marks, indices, and Arabic numerals, you can't scratch them off as you can on the anodized aluminum insert that I have on my conventional Bond Seamaster. So although it styles, it's also surprisingly practical and more durable than the standard bezel. Finally, the luminescence of the dial is extraordinary. I loved my old printed dot index dial and my skeleton hands, but the bottom line is this thing can be seen from space at night. Honestly, I think this thing probably gives off more light than North Korea after you charge it up and shine it in the dark. This is an incredible piece if you love the Panerai Luminor, if you love your Luminox, if you love that big lume look, you're going to like the electric blue Omega Seamaster chronometer. And finally, there is that chronometer caliber inside. Omega's non-coaxial caliber 1120. The coaxial may be technically more interesting and more progressive, but the basic ETA 2892A2 is tougher. So if you have a sports watch, this is a great movement to have. It's thin, it's fine, but it's also remarkably precise. Automatic winding with a 42-hour power reserve, a modern 28,800 vibration per hour rate, and of course when you pull the crown, it hacks the balance, stops the seconds. It allows you to synchronize precisely to a reference clock. Whether you're James Bond and it's a mission timer, or you just want to set this thing to the Naval Observatory atomic clock on your home computer, you've got that precision built in. Really, in a lot of ways, for an entry-level luxury sports watch with a great history, a great look, fantastic engineering, and a real fan following, this Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300 meter electric blue diver, the electric blue, it really is the total package. You can't do a whole lot better. Pound for pound, dollar for dollar, you're not going to find more substance, more character, and more lasting appeal in a watch. And believe me, I would know. I've been idolizing this watch since I was a teenager. And you can see this Omega Seamaster Professional Diver 300 meter electric blue stainless steel 41.5 millimeters on our website, Watch You Want.